So picture this. It is June 1955, and a construction crew in Hong Kong is just, swinging pickaxes into a muddy hillside.
Right, they were frantically trying to build cheap concrete housing for this exploding population.
Exactly. But instead of hitting bedrock to pour their foundation, the ground suddenly just falls away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the workers find themselves staring into the dark of this perfectly preserved 2,000-year-old cosmic machine.
I mean, it was just an absolutely staggering archaeological discovery, ripped right through the middle of a mundane modern construction site.
Just completely out of nowhere.
Completely. That single swing of a pickaxe pushed the documented history of the area back 2 entire millennia.
So for you listening right now, this sets the stage for our deep dive today. We are heading to a place called Lai Chi Kok.
And if you glance at a standard map, it looks like, well, the ultimate manifestation of modern functional concrete.
Yeah, just an industrial and commercial district on the western edge of the Kowloon Peninsula.
Traffic, malls, towering glass offices, all of that.
But we aren't using a standard map today. We got our hands on this mind-bending, multi-layered document called the Universal Spiritual Geospatial Historical Dossier.
Which is a remarkable piece of research, honestly.
Yeah.
It treats the city not as a static grid of streets, but as this living, breathing entity.
Right, with multiple overlapping realities just pressing against each other.
Exactly. And it demands that we look at this seemingly ordinary district through some highly unconventional analytical lenses.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is to peel back the heavy concrete of this district to reveal 5 entirely distinct historical realities occupying the exact same physical space.
And we'll pinpoint specific hidden gems you can actually visit.
Yes, and we'll eventually arrive at a really profound philosophical concept holding this entire chaotic landscape together.
But to pull that off, we have to look through the lenses of ancient Taoist cosmology, the geography of trauma, collective memory, and traditional feng shui.
Which brings us back to those workers in the mud in 1955. They inadvertently unearthed the Lei Chang UK Han tomb.
The irony there is just so thick.
Right. You have this modern British colonial government using cold, bureaucratic logic to stack living people into tiny, identical concrete boxes.
And by doing that, they crack open the lid on how an ancient empire carefully, beautifully placed the dead into an eternal cosmic order.
So what's fascinating here is the sheer intentionality of that ancient order. I mean, the Han spatial philosophy didn't view a tomb as a simple storage room for a body.
No, not at all. It was built in a precise cross shape. So you have 4 chambers, front, back, left, and right, branching out from the center.
Like a literal microcosmos representing the 4 cardinal directions.
Yes, each guarded by the 4 mythical beasts. The azure dragon, the white tiger, the vermilion bird, and the black tortoise.
It's basically a miniaturized, perfect universe designed to sustain the deceased for eternity.
But wait, let me stop you there. I'm looking at the notes on this tomb's orientation.
Oh, the feng shui aspect.
Yeah, the dossier claims this is one of the oldest physical examples of feng shui in the region, built with its back to the protective mountains and facing the water. But you just said this is 2,000 years old. Wasn't the complex system of feng shui codified into written texts way later than the Han Dynasty?
That is a brilliant distinction, actually.
So how can it be a feng shui site if the rules supposedly didn't exist yet?
Well, the formalized written texts of feng shui, like the complex compass schools, they did come centuries later.
Okay.
But the physical, intuitive practice, the basic geographic survival mechanics of seeking shelter from harsh northern winds by backing into a mountain while opening the front to access water and southern sunlight, that predates the written word.
Ah, so this tomb is like the fossilized proof of that intuitive spatial logic before it became a rigid doctrine.
Exactly. And you can actually go feel this spatial logic for yourself. This is our first tourist gem for you.
Yes, the tomb was preserved in place. It became the Lai Chang UK Han Tomb Museum.
And when you walk in from the sweltering, hyperdense streets of modern Sham Shui Po, the sensory shift is jarring.
Oh, I bet.
The temperature plunges. You immediately smell that rich, damp earth and ancient fired brick.
And the acoustics of that vaulted ceiling completely swallow the roar of the diesel buses outside. You are standing in a 2,000-year-old pocket of silence.
But that silence is still holding on to some major secrets, right?
Oh, absolutely. The dossier points out a glaring research gap for any listener looking to do their own historical digging. We still have no idea who the tomb's owner was.
Really? Still?
Still. Most likely a wealthy merchant or frontier official, but the specific identity is lost. Worse yet, There are intricate inscriptions carved directly into the bricks.
And contemporary scholars are still fiercely debating what those characters actually mean.
Yeah. Now, that first story is about a physical ruin you could touch. But how does a landscape remember when all the physical evidence is completely annihilated?
That's what the dossier tackles next.
Right. The name Lai Chi Kok translates to Lychee Cape or Lychee Bay.
And if you know the traditional five elements framework, you know a lush forest of lychee trees cascading down to a coastal bay is a massive concentration of vital wood and water energy.
An incredibly potent combination. That vibrant upward growth energy, combined with the pooling of water, made it the absolute ideal hub for the historical clans who built their agricultural economies there centuries ago.
But of course, the colonial government and modern planners paved over every square inch of it.
Every inch. There isn't a lychee tree in sight today. It is a pure, unbroken ocean of concrete.
Physically obliterated, yes, but linguistically, the ecosystem survived.
That's the crazy part. The name itself functions as an invisible feng shui inscription.
Every single day, millions of modern commuters swipe their transit cards and travel to the Lai Chi Kok subway station.
And without realizing it, they're verbally invoking a vanished natural ecosystem.
It's less like a historical footprint and more like a phantom limb.
Ooh, like that.
The city's physical orchards were amputated a century ago, but the residents still feel the itch of that missing ecosystem every time they speak the name.
The language forces the concrete to remember the very thing it tried to suffocate.
So if you want to connect with this phantom limb, you have two options.
First, you can hike up to Butterfly Valley, which is an ecological remnant in the hills that hints at the lost biodiversity.
Or try this imagination exercise. Go stand at the brutally busy intersection of Lai Chi Kok Road and Cheungsha Wan Road.
Just close your eyes.
Ignore the fluorescent lights of the MTR and the exhaust fumes, and try to sense the absent presence. Visualize the curve of the old shoreline beneath the asphalt.
And picture the wind moving through miles of heavy lychee orchards right where you are standing.
And for the independent researchers out there, the history of the people who actually cultivated that vital wood energy is heavily obscured.
Yeah, the colonial land records from 1898, right after the British leased the area, are notoriously sparse regarding these ancient clams.
Their entire lychee economy is basically just waiting to be pieced back together.
This brings up a massive contradiction that I'm struggling to wrap my head around, though.
What's that?
We just established that this bay was incredibly fertile. It possessed amazing natural energy. If you were a colonial planner surveying prime, auspicious real estate, you build luxury enclaves, right? You build mansions with ocean views, but they didn't.
No, they built the exact opposite. Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we shift from the geography of natural energy to the geography of colonial control. As the empire expanded, the planners needed a designated zone for what the dossier refers to as functional ugliness.
Functional ugliness.
Yeah, they needed a place to dump the things society demanded but refused to look at. Lai Chi Kok became a concentration point for quarantine zones, industrial waste, and most notably, prisons.
The anchor of all this is the Lai Chi Kok Reception Center, a massive looming detention facility.
And the architecture of that facility perfectly illustrates the French philosopher Michel Foucault's concept of the panopticon.
Wait, I want to push back on that for a second.
Okay, go for it.
Because Foucault's panopticon is usually described as a circular prison where a central guard tower watches everyone. But this facility isn't a circle, so how does that apply?
That's a fair point. But the shape is secondary to the mechanism.
Meaning what?
The core mechanism of the panopticon is visual asymmetry. It's the creation of a power dynamic where the inmates never know precisely when they're being watched.
Which eventually forces them to internalize the surveillance and police themselves.
Exactly. The planners built the reception center up on a hill overlooking the district. It wasn't hidden in a valley. This established a psychological dominance over the surrounding area.
So the inmates are completely isolated from the social fabric, yet the imposing fortress is hyper-visible to the free citizens below.
It's constantly reminding the city of the consequences of stepping out of line.
And stepping out of line didn't just mean standard criminal activity.
Not at all. The historical record clearly shows this spatial strategy was utilized to manage political dissidents as well.
Like during the severe left-wing riots of 1967, numerous unionists and demonstrators were detained in these very facilities.
And we are looking at this purely through the dossier's lens of urban planning, to be clear. We aren't endorsing any viewpoints or taking sides. We are impartially noting how colonial architecture hides systemic trauma behind mind-numbingly boring administrative language.
Right. You don't label it a site of political isolation. You call it a correctional facility or simply government land. The mundane label sanitizes the trauma.
So the tourist gem for this specific layer isn't some immersive museum exhibit. It's an exercise in witnessing.
We suggest taking a silent external gaze.
Yeah, walk along the massive outer walls of the still active reception center on Lai Chi Kok Road. Look at the sheer suffocating mass of it.
Feel how heavily that silent, administrative concrete weighs on the hidden history of the city.
There is also a glaring historical void here that the dossier flags as urgent.
During the brutal Japanese occupation of Hong Kong from 1941 to 1945, this area was heavily used for detention and internment.
Yet the records from that era are scattered or entirely missing.
So the dossier points listeners to the JCAR archives, the Japan Center for Asian Historical Records. The missing pieces of this traumatic geography might still be sitting in a folder there, waiting for someone to translate them.
Okay, so our map currently has an ancient cosmic tomb, a phantom lychee orchard, and a towering panopticon of trauma.
It's a lot, but humans are strange, resilient creatures. Which brings us to the most unbelievable paradox of this entire district.
Literally sharing a property line with this zone of grueling industrial labor and imprisonment sat a space of pure, ecstatic release.
The legendary Lai Chi Kok amusement park.
Yes. From the 1950s through the 1970s, this place was the beating heart of the city's working class.
You have people working unimaginable bone-crushing hours in the textile factories, returning to sleep in those tiny concrete resettlement boxes.
And right there on the waterfront, glowing in the night, was this massive theme park.
Psychologists and geographers would define that amusement park as a liminal space, a critical threshold.
In anthropological terms, liminality is the boundary between the profane, everyday world and the sacred world.
Right. In Lai Chi Kok, the profane was the exhausting reality of factory looms and prison walls. The sacred was this enclosed sphere of vibrant joy, loud music, and leisure.
Crossing the turnstiles into that park was a profound psychological transition for those workers.
But the park was entirely demolished in the late 90s. It's gone. It's just residential high-rises now.
So how does a completely demolished theme park exert any kind of geographic pull on a city if there are zero physical traces left to look at?
Well, because the physical erasure is precisely what turned it into a memory gravity well.
A memory gravity well.
Think about the mechanism of memory. If the developers had left a rusty Ferris wheel or an old ticket booth behind, the collective memory would stay anchored to those physical objects.
People could look at the rust and feel nostalgic.
Right. But because every single brick was bulldozed, the memory of that joy was forced inward. It became entirely internal and subjective.
You can't bulldoze a feeling.
Exactly. The less physical evidence there is, the stronger the collective memory pulls on the people who experienced it.
That leads to a highly urgent action item for you listening. Your gem for this layer is a conversation, and the window to have it is closing fast.
Go to the old local eateries along Chung Sha Wan Road, buy a tea, sit down, and politely ask the elderly residents about the amusement park.
Ask them what it smelled like, what the ride sounded like. This is a biological ticking clock.
If we want to capture these internal maps of joy, before that gravity well collapses, we have to collect these oral histories right now.
It truly is a race against time to document a sacred geography that only survives in the human mind.
Now, to physically fit all of this onto the map, the housing estates, the prisons, the factories, the theme park, the city couldn't just build upward.
No, they fundamentally changed the shape of the earth. This is our fifth layer, the century-long land reclamation.
Engineers took this beautiful, curving natural bay and just choked it with dirt and rock until it was flat land.
They even built a land bridge connecting an offshore island, Stonecutters Island, directly to the mainland.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because you cannot alter the shape of a continent without triggering massive consequences.
Not when you evaluate it through traditional civil engineering and feng shui, anyway.
We discussed the auspicious wood energy earlier. The physical shape of that original sweeping bay acted as a perfect topographic bowl.
It was designed by nature to gather ki, catching the vital energy flowing down from the mountains and holding it securely in the water.
It was essentially a giant catcher's mitt.
Precisely. By filling in the bay to create flat industrial plots, the engineers paved over the catcher's mitt.
In the traditional vernacular, they severed the mountain's dragon vein, the primary pathway of energy.
And they made one more fatal geographic error. Stonecutters Island originally sat right at the mouth of the bay, acting as a natural lock that prevented the gathered energy from washing out into the open ocean.
By connecting the island to the mainland, they destroyed the lock. They kicked the front door wide open.
So, I'm tracking the energy escaping, but I want to ground this in reality. What does spatial energy actually look like in terms of capital flow?
Good question.
Like, how does a severed dragon vein make a place functionally different for the people doing business there?
Well, capital behaves remarkably like water. Because the geographic bowl was destroyed, the capital couldn't pool and settle.
Oh, I see.
It rushed in and washed right back out, like a tide with no barrier. The real-world result was that Lai Chi Kok became a highly fluid, transient industrial zone.
Developers relied on short-term factory leases rather than long-term multi-generational infrastructure.
Exactly. Businesses constantly moved in, opened a textile mill, closed it a few years later, and relocated.
It was a landscape defined by hypermobility and fleeting wealth, rather than accumulated, rooted prosperity. The economy couldn't settle because the geography literally couldn't hold it.
To see the aftermath of this severed vein, go walk the Lai Chi Kok Park Promenade. The park features an artificial lake and some pleasant landscaping, but the dossier harshly categorizes it as a weak compensatory terrain.
It's the modern city subconsciously trying to apologize for annihilating an entire ocean bay by offering up a tiny manicured pond.
And while you're there, wander through the Changsha Wan fabric markets. You'll witness the chaotic, bustling remnants of that hyperfluid industrial era.
The capital is still moving, it just never stops to rest.
A landscape of perpetual motion built directly on top of a severed vein.
My mind is officially spinning. I mean, we have a 2,000-year-old cosmic tomb. We have a phantom lychee orchard hiding in a transit card.
A panopticon enforcing trauma through visual dominance.
An obliterated amusement park functioning as a memory gravity well, and we have a severed dragon vein bleeding transient capital into fabric markets.
Incredible.
How do we synthesize this? How does the dossier make sense of all these wildly contradictory realities occupying the exact same GPS coordinates?
This is where the dossier introduces its defining philosophical concept, which is Lychee-Shell Encapsulation Syndrome.
That is a phenomenal term.
It captures the mechanism perfectly. Standard history textbooks teach us that progress is linear. A new era arrives, wipes the slate clean, and builds the future.
But the dossier argues that in a place like Lai Chi Kok, nothing is ever actually erased. It is merely encapsulated.
Think of the actual lychee fruit. It has that tough, bumpy, leathery outer shell protecting the pressurized fruit inside.
Right.
Each new civilization, each new era of aggressive urban planning simply forms a new, hard shell that seals the previous reality underneath it.
So the past isn't destroyed, it's just trapped under extreme pressure.
Exactly that. The Han tomb was perfectly encapsulated for 2 millennia until the intense pressure of the 1950s housing boom finally cracked the shell and exposed it.
And the ecstatic joy of the amusement park isn't gone, it's encapsulated within the aging minds of the elderly.
The historical trauma of the control zones is encapsulated beneath layers of boring administrative language.
The vital natural energy of the bay is encapsulated beneath thousands of tons of asphalt.
History here isn't a timeline drawn on a whiteboard, it's a pressure cooker.
When you walk these streets, you are not walking on erased history. You are walking on a sealed, highly pressurized capsule.
And it is always just waiting to rupture.
Just waiting for the right vibration to crack the shell and violently reveal the layer beneath.
Which raises an important question, and it's the thought I want to leave directly with you, the listener.
Yeah.
We just explored how the bureaucratic housing boom of the 1950s encapsulated the Han Dynasty, and how modern commercial real estate encapsulated the joy of the 1970s. I want you to look around at your own city right now. Our current era, this relentless age of hyper-commercialism, digital clouds, instant delivery, and endless development, this is just another shell.
So what exactly are we encapsulating for the future?
Exactly. When the leathery shell of our modern era inevitably cracks open 1,000 years from now, what kind of ghosts, what hidden joys, and what unhealed energies will we be releasing into the future?
Wow. What a profound thought to end on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. We really hope this shatters the illusion of the fixed city and changes the way you look at the concrete beneath your feet.
Don't forget to talk to the elders in your neighborhood. Keep challenging the obvious and keep exploring the invisible layers of the world around you.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.